Good morning, happy Monday. Welcome to ScreenJunkies Universe. We're so excited about a brand new week. Tell me how excited you are, Spencer Gilbert.
So excited!
Yay, Joe Starr is here.
I'm at a 12.
You're at a 12 out of 7.
Yes. He's doubled it.
Dan
Almost.
Murrell.
Hello.
Also, Joe tried to, I think you're trolling me a little bit with that shirt.
A little.
Like you're trying to distract
What
me
do you got on there?
today.
Just Kurt Russell. Just
Yeah,
center.
just Kurt Russell all over the
that'll do it.
place.
Yeah.
So
No
if I go
sleeves.
off the rails today, you only have Joe to blame today, specifically. Streaming services. So many streaming services. Let's talk about it. Warner Brothers. Now, we've been talking about this for a long time. Why wasn't Warner Brothers launching their own streaming service? Well, lo and behold, they are. This is via CNN. So after being acquired by AT&T about 4 months ago, they are making plans for a streaming TV service, which is not surprising, but is interesting in terms of the timing. CEO John Stankey was talking.
Nice, Roth. Almost got it. Get it because it's like he stinks. The joke.
So we were just talking about how not enough people do stage names anymore. John. So he said our service will start with HBO and the genre-defining.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That is not Joe's fault, for the record.
Yeah, right?
I will bring Kurt out when you can control yourself.
Yeah.
All right, I got it together.
No Kurt for you.
No Kurt for me.
you.
You're right. I deserve that punishment. Our service will start with
That's what
HBO.
drove him to become a CEO. It's people like you. I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Exactly. Well, good for him. He rose above the inevitable childhood teasing that I'm sure he and all of us endured.
sure he smells great.
Our service will start with HBO and the genre-defining programming that viewers crave. On top of that, we will package content from Turner and Warner Brothers with their deep brand connections that touch both diverse interests and mass audiences. This is via an entire. I just love content so much. This is via an internal memo. Obviously, they're going to be going up against things like Netflix, Amazon, and then the impending Disney service. It's not unlike the Disney service. However, they have some complicated contractual issues to deal with ahead of time in terms of where their licenses sit right now. They're looking into bringing out library of films like Harry Potter. Some of the Warner Brothers television shows are up for negotiations, like ER, The Big Bang Theory. Those aired on NBC and CBS respectively. So if they're successful, this could be a big hit to things like Hulu, Netflix, and CBS All Access. So if you guys, you probably know this, but if you don't know this, just to make the distinction, the studios make the television shows and then they license them to the networks. So Warner Brothers makes a ton of television shows that air on a variety of different networks, Warner Brothers Television. If they get them all back, it's potentially a big hit to any of these networks that are trying to do their own things with that content. So that'll be really interesting to see how that plays out over the next couple of years. But it's another reason that they announced this so that they can start to openly make these negotiations and make announcements. What I'm curious about is the DC service, streaming service just launched. So is that getting bundled in? They also have things like CNN. So is it like a big news package?
And
like,
HBO,
and
Go?
HBO,
What happens to
like
them?
just. It's unclear, and the article doesn't actually state what the ultimate plan is. I think that's why they're just like gonna probably be revealing things over time, like a price point and the name of the service and things like that. My guess is that they would have a variety of bundled packages with all of those different assets.
Mm-hmm. Assets too? Really?
I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me.
It's like Beavis and Butthead over here.
It's like butts.
So let's talk it out, because if they get it together, it actually potentially could be a challenge to some of those other services. However, it doesn't have the really clear brand identity that like Disney does. So that's maybe a challenge to it. It's both a benefit and potential detractor in terms of launching the service. Talk.
Well, I'm curious, like, do you know, it's like you said, what happens to HBO, what happens to CNN? Like, do you stack, like, you have a base WB service, and then if you want DC, you pay an extra $2. If you want HBO, you pay an extra $3.
Yeah.
And that also makes me wonder, does then, like, I get HBO Go through Amazon Prime. Is that part of their licensing gamble, or like they're gonna pull everything from their competitors? Or
Yeah, I get HBO through Hulu, so it's like This is getting so complicated.
It's
and
so
stupid.
complicated.
It's so.
I think their only advantage is because they are AT&T. Like, people are already paying AT&T every month for internet and cable, and this is when everything gets consolidated. Like, they could just like do a really easy opt-in. You're already subscribing to AT&T for your phone or your internet or whatever. It's like, well, add $20 a month and you get all these TV channels too.
Yeah, that's a potential way. Plus, that also brings up our previous concerns about net neutrality and how that could, since AT&T is both going to be the platform and going to have the service, they have a vested interest in making sure, A, that one works well, or that if you want it, it doesn't, unless you're subscribed to AT&T. There's a number of different ways they could screw with the consumer down the road. But more, I'm wondering in terms of the long-term play, because Warner Brothers does have a huge library.
They do.
So how you cohesively package what you're selling is I think, the only option they have is to do a base and then put their most premier sort of packages in the base.
Right, because no
and
one's a
then
fan
add-ons.
of Warner Brothers.
Right,
It's not a brand
exactly.
that means, I mean, they are fans of DC and they're fans of I guess HBO is kind of an overarching brand.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, this reminds me of after Napster, when all the record labels tried to launch their own Napster, and it's
Yes.
like, no one cares about the bands on Universal Music as opposed to Capitol Music and stuff like that. They just like the bands. Like, they just like the shows. They just want to watch the shows. They don't care where it's coming from. So maybe a little misguided to put Warner Brothers as the brand, because I think Joe off the street, not Joe Starr, but Joe off the street has no idea what Warner Brothers owns and doesn't own.
We don't even, I
He
mean,
is
like,
a
if
cool
you
guy, by
if
the
you
way.
forced me to name all of the television shows that they have produced,
Yeah.
I could not do that off the top of my head at all, but it's a lot. They produced a lot of television over the years, in addition to the DC and CW shows.
But what is their draw going to be, though? Because it seems like, Disney, I get. Disney's the only one for me where when they say, you've got our library, that people are going to go like, okay.
I understand what that means.
And it seems like there's so many other things that are now like, we're going to have an amazing library. It's like, is are reruns of ER and the Harry Potter movies really going to be enough for someone to say, like, I will pay you $15 a month? Like, I think they're going to have to, it's got to be more than that, which to me indicates that they'll do things like pull HBO Go off of wherever it is, and you have to go through them and the DC universe, whatever they decide to do with that. I get why, from a corporate strategy, if you're in a boardroom and you have an executive in front of you and you're looking at Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon and all the money that they're making, every single big media company, an executive is going to be fired if they don't go to their boss and say, like, here's our plan for a streaming service, because they're making money hand over fist. But it reminds me of like not the early, but even just the last 7 to 10 years of the internet, which is YouTube sprang up. There were several people that were making a lot of money doing YouTube, and then so every company and every corporation and every Verizon, everyone just like flooded money into YouTube and just like, we're gonna make all that money. And then all of the views just like, the people that were already successful, took a hit but pretty much kept their views, and the views for everything else just dispersed because there were 40,000 things instead of 400, and then one by one they started to go away. And then now I think, more so than even 2 years ago, you have still the people that were already successful doing it, and a lot of time and money and employees and stuff, unfortunately, gone because there was just such an aggressive expansion. And it seems like it seems like a lot of the same companies now doing the exact same thing,
but bigger. And with
So,
greater consequences.
maybe it'll work this time.
No, it won't.
don't know.
And I think that what's really clear over the last few years is we've had this golden age of television, because people, in order to stand out, you have to be excellent. Because there's so much of it. So that's been cool as a consumer, but eventually you're right. I mean, even in the Fox-Disney merger, which reportedly a big motivating factor for Disney was the upcoming streaming service and getting Fox's library. So you're looking at 5,000 to 10,000 people getting laid off just from that. And so you're right, like, there are consequences to these things. Joe, you were gonna say a thing.
Yeah, so you touched on it a little bit, but the reason why, in general, like, WB, Warner Brothers, launching their own Warner Bros. Sorry,
Sure.
it is Warner Bros. On paper legally.
I just thought of a
which is
whole way to
awesome.
brand them.
Warner, yep.
You see
Warner
the police,
Bros.
Warner Brother?
You
I have that T-shirt.
if you've got like one of those vapes that can charge your phone, you can like watch the app for free. Anyway,
Is there a vape that can charge it? Okay, we'll talk later.
We'll talk later.
we'll talk later. Warner especially has their MO was always we make the content, we license it. Like everyone does that to an extent, but that's all Warner Brothers did, except for that brief foray into trying to have a Warner Brothers network at a Frog, which went away. But Warner Brothers has always played to the strength that they don't worry about the infrastructure of we have our own network to support and this and that. For the most part, it was we make the shows in-house, you buy them. So it's surprising to me that now they're hedging their bets on creating, and that's why I think they don't have an overarching like brand. When you think Warner Brothers, you think of
Animaniacs?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like a water tower ? Because their stuff is everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're everywhere, which means they're nowhere. I don't know if that makes sense. But,
Yeah, it does.
But so I'm surprised that they are not just highest bidding to like Hulu and to Netflix and to.
I think they're playing in long term. So first of all, one of the big things that this signals to me, to your point, Joe, because they do produce so much television, and and again, like just the way that it works is like the networks will like, on rare occasions, the network will also produce the show like AMC for Walking Dead, but for the most part, they're licensing the shows, and then the studios own those shows as well internationally, and they'll license them separately, and it gets very complicated then with the streaming deals. So what I feel like this is the absolute, we knew it was coming, we knew it's happening, absolute death knell for networks. Like they're done in 5 to 10 years.
Traditional just TV.
Traditional TV networks, they're just done, right? Because they, for so many different reasons. That said, a new form of cable will spring up with bundle packages because there's no other way to track any of this stuff. But the challenge, you're right, that they face as Warner Brothers is because Disney has such a distinctive brand, you know, you pretty much know what you're going to get when you go to a Disney anything within certain parameters. Warner Brothers, because they have produced so much, like they have to spring DC and HBO forward. Like that's the only thing people are attached to.
Yeah, I just don't think, going off of what Joe says, that this doesn't sound like a Warner Brothers driven decision. This sounds like AT&T saying, well, we're already getting, you know, $60 a month from everybody for their internet. Can we get 20 more if we offer them like videos?
Yeah, and I'm sure they've spent the last X amount of months doing research on that, and the answer was yes.
Yeah.
Is my guess, you know, if they had the right package.
You know what's kind of sad about this? I'm going to put my old man hat on here for a second, which is I never take off.
Because, by the way,
Bolted
I
to
put
the
my
skull.
14-year-old boy hat on earlier today, and I never take that one off.
I mean, because I think you're right, is if the networks are around in 5 or 10 years, it's certainly not going to be in the forms that they currently take, and I don't think the program is going to be. And what I really hate is that and we've lost it. It started with TiVo and DVR, and it's just continuing to go on from there. And now the audience is going to be fractured so much. Is we're losing the concept of the shared experience with television, where an episode comes on TV and the next day everyone saw it and you talk about it. But there's very, very few shows left still today that you can do that with. Game of Thrones. Not even really Walking Dead anymore, just because I think it's fallen off a little bit. It used to be Walking Dead, but you know, I think that's a little, you know, I get that the marketplace evolves, but I think some of the magic that television used to hold was that you did have this audience, and when a show came on, you know, you watched it at a certain time, and there was this like you shared a moment with the nation. And now outside of news and a few shows, you don't have that anymore. Sports, and that's going to fracture even more. And I really think in 5 to 10 years, people aren't going to really be able to talk about television that much, because even if people are watching the same shows, they're not probably watching them at the same pace or in the same order. And you know, already there's shows that come out. It's like, oh, I want to talk about House of Cards, but I can't because I'm on episode 7 and Spencer's on episode 2. So we either have to wait till 3 weeks till we both catch up. But usually you just never end up talking about it. So
I'm fine with that. I mean, we used to be talking about, like, did you see like Coach last night? Did you see Hawaii 5-0?
Where were you
I'm just
talking
saying,
about Coach?
back when TV was a shared experience for the whole nation, there were 4 channels,
Such a
and
fascinating
We never watch
window
Coach together anymore,
into
Spencer.
young
I was
Spencer.
using it to illustrate a
Do you
point
like
that TV
Coach?
has gotten better at the expense of the shared experience.
yes, and I'm saying that, like, I'm not saying we go back to 4 networks. I'm just, I do think that even 5 years ago with like Breaking Bad and stuff was a show like that.
It was.
And I think the further that we go into these streaming platforms, and the further that we go away from, you know, things being broadcast. I think we lose just that little bit. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I've got to catch it now turns into it will be there forever.
It'll be there forever, so I can watch it whenever I want to.
Or just it's just for me personally, it just turns into I am completely overwhelmed.
Right.
I cannot
You'll
keep
never catch
up.
up.
I can never catch up.
Yeah.
It's my job, and I still can't catch up or keep up. But I think that what's happening, to your point, is they're just becoming more niche versions of that, because I'll see hashtags for shows I've never heard of pop up on Twitter, and people are obviously clicking on that and talking with each other.
There was
It's
a
too
certain.
much.
There was a
Meanwhile,
certain
this
appeal.
weekend I watched a really cheesy Halloween series on Hulu, and I don't regret a single second of it.
Great.
Like the thumbnail was like said, "Hi, we're the Craft," and I was like, "Thanks." It's called Light as a Feather.
Oh, Stiff as board.
It's trash, and it is awesome.
All right.
All of you guys are watching The Haunting of Hill House and watching quality television. I was straight up trashing.
They gotcha.
I do want to apologize to CEO John Stanky for my immature behavior this morning. If we've just met John, it's who I am. But you've done very good things with your life, and I'm sure we'll continue to do so. Meanwhile, Walmart is also getting into original content.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't have good news. This is via CNN. Vudu, which is Walmart's streaming service, is now going to be making
Doesn't sound very
original.
Christian.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Just saying, Walmart, like, they won't even carry some R-rated movies. They're launching Voodoo.
What's really funny is they're basically doing like they're okay.
Sorry,
So do you
I'm
guys
back.
know anything about Christian rock? Are you familiar with this?
I grew up
Are
in
my arms
Arkansas
wide
in the
open?
90s, Roth. Of course I know about
Not
Christian
Creed.
rock.
Are we in the District of Columbia because we're about to have a DC talk?
So
Are jars of clay on the table today?
I
or
didn't
just
grow
news
up
boys?
around.
There's definitely some news.
I didn't grow up around this stuff, so I don't know much about it. However, my partner did, and he told me that they would just literally take popular songs and then remake them almost exactly with Christian lyrics. So
off.
that's like that's my, and I could be wrong, and if you love it, great, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's sort of what Walmart is doing in terms of their original content, which they're taking movies that already exist and remaking them. This is like the Trauma model and remake, or the Asylum
Transmorphers,
model.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like remaking them as things that are more family friendly. And this is the kicker. They're starting with Mr. Mom.
Okay. Like
That
Michael
old
Keaton.
Michael
80s
Keaton.
touchstone, Mr. Mom.
Yeah. So I have so many questions just there that I'd like to address. But the point is, anyway, this is what they're doing. What do you think? Is this like is there a market for this? I think that they
mean-
should just license those Christian films, the ones that are made.
There's only so many left
You know the one I'm
behind.
talking about?
God Isn't Dead 1 through 6.
I don't
Kevin
know.
Sorbo.
Oh, like Left Behind with
Yeah,
Kirk
like
Cameron?
that. Yeah.
First of all, I need to find these Christian Weird Al Yankovics that were running around out there remaking popular songs, because I didn't know. I'm with Joe. I was DC talking Jars of Clay when I was
Jars
growing
of
up.
clay?
Yeah,
Jars
lift
of
me
clay.
up when I'm falling.
Roth, this is going to shock you, but briefly, for like 2 years in the mid-'90s, Christian rock was that far away from going mainstream.
Well, Creed kind of broke through.
Creed started as Christian, and then they went
And then they went their own.
right to the
Katy Perry started as
wherever
Christian.
they went.
Drugs is where they went.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
So yeah, this is I guess I don't know. Walmart is its own thing. It's its own beast. It's its own nation to itself, really. And I'm sure that their customer base is such that if they brand something, some of them will it'll cost $2, and they'll pay content creators 50 cents to make it. And
I
they'll
love
make
that
money
they're
on it.
doing great value versions of media, just like they do great value versions of like cookies.
So-
I really
They're
hope,
very similar.
not that they aren't already abused and underpaid enough, that they they make their employees shoot and perform
Yeah.
all of the knockoff versions.
Yeah.
It's like Mr. Mom starring Employee of the Month.
Chad.
Yeah, Chad is Mr. Mom.
But the weird implication to me is like, is Mr. Mom not already family friendly? Like,
Could always be more family.
it's
friendly.
also so dated. The concept of Mr. Mom is so dated. Right? Am I?
Not to Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart.
Where do you see their new spin on it?
Well, their whole, their whole like
I loved
center
it,
around
though.
this is that this is going to be like the Family Values America, like wholesome streaming service. So you don't like,
Isn't that
which again is weird
Disney?
that it's called Voodoo. Like that was right in front of us, and thank you for pointing it out. But yeah, that's the whole thing. So like, Mr. Mom will be, I don't know, return to a wholesome family values where, I don't know, a dad learns how important,
Staying at work is,
yeah, or whatever. Yeah, I
and
don't
then
know.
letting the mom be the mom.
Well,
Is
she'll
that
get
the
a
lesson?
side hustle as a Walmart greeter.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I want when you log in to Voodoo. Like it's just a recording of one of the guys that my parents go to church with, who's just a retired Walmart greeter now, and he's just like, "Hello, put in your login and password." Hi.
I'm so confused by this.
I think we'll have to sign up.
I think we're gonna have. Well, we'll have to. We're assigning all of the 20 million streaming service. Each of us is gonna have to take one
Cover a
and
beat.
explore it.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to sign up though, because it's you can. I think you can pay. It's basic. You don't have to pay for the service because it's also ad based, and then you can just like rent the movies. I'm pretty sure that's how Vudu works.
Well, yeah, Voodoo is it's a weird kind of hybrid. Sometimes it's like the digital HD thing
Yeah.
where you get a code and you get it on Voodoo, so you can, like if you buy a movie, that's where you go to watch it. Kind of like how Disney has their own thing where you go to watch a Disney movie. So it depends on the film, and depends on it's a whole.
Sit down with your great value red licorice and a case of Dr. Thunder and enjoy.
You get Voodoo
Mr. Mom.
as a
Isn't,
throw-in.
isn't,
Yeah.
isn't Disney though the family-friendly service that people are going to be signing up to for family?
Yeah, but
friendly?
who's got money for Disney? I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to charge like $80 a month just to see, whatever they pulled out of the vault this week.
And The Mandalorian.
And The Mandalorian.
And The
yeah.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's its subtitle.
What?
Disney and The Mandalorian.
And The Mandalorian.
Well, speaking of Disney, some people are none too happy with them at the moment. Aladdin writers are pissed. This is via Slash Film. So Terry Rossio.
Rossio.
Rossio. Thank you. Terry Rossio. I'm going to Italy soon. He co-wrote Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as Aladdin,
Nice.
and he's a little displeased that he's receiving zero compensation for the upcoming live-action remake, which, in his mind, heavily pulls from his script. So he said this on Twitter, and by the evidence presented, also heavily pulls from this script. So he says, it's so strange that literally the only word spoken in the new Aladdin trailer happens to be the rhyme that my writing partner and I wrote, and Disney offers zero compensation to us or to any screenwriters on any of these live action remakes. Not even a t-shirt or a pass to the park. And then he went on to say the studio owns the content on an animated feature. When the films were made, no one foresaw a live action remake, so nothing was contracted. Basically, they don't owe them anything. So Disney has been approached many times for some kind of compensation fee. I asked Disney for a pass, but they answered no, zilch, nada. The pass thing is interesting because he goes on to say, that what's ironic is that Disney did award myself and the other writers a lifetime pass right around when they opened Shanghai Disney with an entire
that's
land
petty.
devoted to Pirates of the Caribbean at no compensation, he also notes, but they took the lifetime pass away.
Why do you? How can you
Why
take
would
it
they take it
away?
away? That's my question
Why-
too.
What was that costing them per
Come
year?
on.
Well, I don't know, man. You could have been one
Like,
of
that's
those
just
freaks that
mean.
goes to the park every single
Yeah,
day.
and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop movie passing us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will not sit here and have you talk about Mike Carlson like that. He's a Disney enthusiast.
Totally normal.
Check
The
out Podcast
deluxe
The Ride.
annual pass, which offers no blackout dates, is $600 a year.
$600 a
come
year.
on, yeah.
That is
They can
two
afford
that is
that.
two
Change.
seconds of Black Panther's theatrical
Yeah.
release. Like probably literally 2 seconds worth of their time.
Yeah.
I'm with him. Like if I wrote a script for a movie and I was paid for that script, and then 20 years later they're going to do another version of the movie and use my script again, I would think like, "Hey, like maybe if you're going to make $1 billion off of this by putting live action people, reverse rotoscoping live action people in front of cartoons and essentially going by Beauty and the Beast. Jungle Book was an improvement, I thought, on the original cartoon. I thought Beauty and the Beast was literally a live action recreation of the cartoon, which I already liked anyway. Maybe Aladdin will be different, but yeah,
They
I get
added
that they
another
don't.
really weird song.
Yeah, and they added
Some
whatever
bonus
that-
features.
It's from the Broadway show, yeah.
the pee song, the bathroom break, I think is what it's called.
They did that for Aladdin too. Sorry, I thought we were talking. Like, yeah, they've added in a song, which also the songwriting team from the original wrote, got cut from the movie, got put in the Broadway show, and is now in this. And I'm
Right.
wondering if they'll be in the same boat.
I'm
no,
sure
I was
they
talking
will.
about the Beauty and the Beast song where she's singing about how she's misjudged him when she
Oh,
so
man.
clearly judged him appropriately.
Yeah,
Spot on.
That song.
yeah.
This is a.
But yeah, I'd be pissed off too. I mean, I get that, like, yes, 25 years ago when we made this movie, I did not foresee that you would reuse my script, but you would think that maybe Disney wouldn't want to piss off the writers of some of their most popular money-making hits. I guess they don't. It's like taking away the Lifetime Pass, though. I guess there's really no disincentive because, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
There's just a weird and unfortunate.
petty.
It's petty.
It is petty, but this stems from like I'm sort of talking out of my ass here, but someone will find out that I'm mostly correct. Is that there's a weird and unfortunate divide in writers where if you write for animation, you're not in the WGA. It's some other, like, you're in the animators, like electricians and carpentry and craft services.
Is that
guild.
right?
Yeah, animation writers are not.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, so it's completely different agreements, like group guild contracts and stuff like that.
That's
so animation
awful.
writers always end up getting screwed. There you
Let's
go.
do actual research. That's awful.
Fact check
That's
me on
really,
that.
really
Roughly,
awful.
Billy, are animation writers in the WGA?
Let me take a look.
That's
Well,
nonsense.
you know, I think in general, Disney knows if this takes off, you know, and is a social media storm for a minute, Disney knows they can weather the storms. I mean, there were literally, recently there were exposés about how, like, a good chunk of their employee base, like, can't pay rent and live in
Yeah.
their, have at least at some point in their Disney career,
Disney
like,
or
lived in their
Walmart?
cars.
No,
Both?
Disney.
Disney.
Cool,
at the
cool,
park.
cool.
Yeah.
No,
Isn't that
no,
great?
there was an expose
Yeah.
there. It's basically like they're not even they're like not even giving sustainable wages at all. Like they're on welfare.
Yeah, and that story's come and gone. Like, Disney at this point, I think they know that they can kind of just do what they want with stuff like this, and they'll be able to weather the storm. Like, no one will remember in 2 weeks that they just literally cut and pasted something someone wrote for them years ago, and they're just re-releasing it with actors, live action actors saying it instead of voiceover actors.
It's not even the financial compensation. I agree. It's like, and even Rossio seems to be. He's not saying like I want $500 million. It's like anything, because let's be honest, it's got Will Smith. People love Aladdin. If it's anything like Beauty and the Beast, it'll probably be exactly that movie. The trailer certainly appeared to be exactly of the Aladdin movie with live action people, and it's probably going to make $1 billion, more than likely. And it's like, and it seems like it's going to be at least every indication so far. And I can't imagine they're going to fundamentally change the script because, again, it's a great movie, and why would they? If they're taking the guy's work, give him something.
You could give him $1 million and it wouldn't affect them.
Now, also,
Right.
though, in Disney's defense, like...
They don't have
like,
to,
Well,
I get
no,
it.
I'm just saying, like, most things, like Aladdin is based on, like, old folklore and Arabian Nights.
But if they
He
make
didn't
the
say,
but I mean, if they,
Aladdin will be his name.
if
Like,
they make the animated movie again, if they use the dialogue, the same dialogue, if they
that they
use the
wrote.
same things that they wrote, then I think that I'm not saying that like legally they must be compensated, but I think you should compensate somebody. Now, maybe Aladdin comes out and they change every word of the script.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would
Other
do
than
that.
what we've already seen. Where
other
they
than
did.
what we've already seen, where it was exactly what was in the cartoon.
Because
like,
Never Had a Friend
verbatim.
Like Me isn't in the original, like, folklore. I don't
All
think.
right, so
think so.
I
I don't
found
believe so.
something here. This is from an article in the LA Times last year. This was around a writer's strike, and the article is basically saying that while there was a writer's strike that could have happened, animation was pretty safe. That's because scribes for the studios are not subject to the Writers Guild of America contracts. This was specifically talking about Pixar. Instead, most animated film and TV writing falls within the reach of the Animation Guild, which is part of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. So basically, they put them in a different guild so they don't have to worry about like WGA writing fines and all that stuff.
yeah, and it comes from, you know, obviously, like, animation, they were just, in the early days, they were just seen as sweatshops full of guys, just like, so it's to get lumped in with them is you want to be with the artistes in the WGA for a better
Well,
better
you want to
deal.
be protected.
Yes, but I guess it's just like,
You can be
they're
covered.
separate unions. What are you going to do?
You can be covered by the WGA. It just seems like some studios, again, they specifically call out Pixar, has this other union that they deal with. So if you look on the WGA, at least the WGA West's website, it's kind of like, we do all types of writing, and yeah, we can do animation too, I guess, I suppose. It is kind of like a little bit like, it's like, check with your local office.
Yeah. The more you know.
Well, that's
The more you know. Oh, it's just a bummer because we're just like, Disney's just going to be more and more and more powerful and have less and less and less F's to give. Frolics to give. Reward me for that. I did not use the F word.
You did a really good job, Roth.
Thank you.
Yeah, solid.
Here you go.
How am I to learn if I am not praised?
There you go.
Thank you. I earned that.
in.
Yeah.
It's very disconcerting because Joe, you're right. Like that story came in and went. The debacle around Anaheim came and went. Certainly, this will. I mean, this is like the stories that we talk about, like James Gunn and stuff aside. Like, there's so much focus on there, but the business practices across the board, Disney is notoriously really, really cheap. But there's a difference between being cheap and being unethical. Right. And I feel like they are, if not, have not already veering into the highly unethical territory. So that's my hot take for today. Does it mean I'm going to stop watching Disney? Probably not. I'm not doing my part. I'll give you things to watch that aren't Disney, though. The Halloween Cornet, you can watch that.
Yes. All of them, except people got very upset.
Oh.
Hashtag very upset that we did not do full recaps of the Rob Zombie Halloween films in our Halloween Cramit. To which I say, it's the same story. What do you want us to do the same plot again? They did not like that we did not give full. We mentioned the Rob Zombie films, so we did not give full recaps of them. And I will say why. Number one, it's the same story. And number two, it's a completely separate timeline. It's over here, and it's like we were following the Michael Myers that is now returning through all of his different iterations. And Rob Zombie's Halloweens are over here. But people said we were very lazy. Very, very lazy because we only did 8 movies
so
at the same time we were writing 2 trailers for 50 years of science fiction film for charity.
We
That we were
skipped
very
Rob
lazy
Zombie's
to
Little
not write
Zombies.
Rob Zombie's Halloween
Well,
movies.
dig with the
So,
witches that burn.
Next, yes, I'm sorry, it was a real Dracula on your weekend. Maybe we'll do them later.
No,
so
you don't need to.
We did not honestly realize that Rob Zombie's Halloween films had so many rabid fans out there that would be very upset that we did not do full
The Rob Zombie
recaps.
films are the same movie with the addition of it's like a textbook version, except that he removes what made Michael Myers interesting.
Well,
which was that there is no reason for Michael Myers.
Yes, you get a
And
good
he
reason.
gave
Many reasons, yes.
It's literally hits every textbook marker of a serial killer, those films. And then it's like, oh, he's a sociopath. Well, I mean, that's basically what he was before, but also the devil and pure evil with eyes of pits of madness.
Perhaps a druid.
Likely, well, that's later.
Perhaps a druid.
I think later it's most certainly a druid.
Yes.
It is. The druid curse from his babysitter.
But this movie, Halloween, my understanding, the Halloween that we are seeing tonight,
Yes,
the new Halloween, is only following the first film.
the first film.
Yeah.
So it's a whole new timeline.
Yes,
So
it's the second all-new timeline with Jamie Lee Curtis.
She is no longer his sister.
The
is
first
my
one was
understanding.
20 years
correct.
ago.
Or a druid,
Yeah.
maybe.
We'll see.
We'll
Buster
see.
Rhymes,
credits.
no longer canon.
No longer canon.
Charting with Dan later today. Going to talk about that Venom box office.
Venom, Star is Born, First Man. Not a great start for
More like
First Man.
the third man.
Or
And
for
Bad Times
El
at the El
Royale,
Royale didn't even open in the top 5. So we'll talk about all that.
Even worse
which is a
times.
bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good movie too.
I know.
You would like it.
I should support it.
You should go see it.
Audiences.
I rented 8th grade this weekend.
Also a really good movie.
Also really good.
Also a really
I saw
good movie.
Venom 6 times.
Yeah.
I watched this trashy show on Hulu called Light as a Feather. Good. Honest Trailers and Honest Trailers commentaries tomorrow. We'll be here all week. Thank you. Goodbye.